See, there's no perfect investment vehicle. If there was, we'd all own it.
Hey everybody, Julie Murphy here. And you know what I always say, we either work things out or we act it out, and we do it through our money, our health, or our relationships. And in the financial services world, we have a lot of people out there that just sell product, which is why when I go to a networking event and somebody looks at me and they go, "So what do you do for a living?" And I say, "Oh, I'm a financial planner." They go, "Oh, nice to meet you." And they walk the other way. It's like almost like I smell. I'm always like, what's going on? Like, why are they walking the other way? But I believe after, 25 plus years of doing this, that it's because so many people have bought financial products in the world where they didn't understand their why they were buying it. It was just that the person in the cubicle next to them did it, or their parents told them it was the right thing to do, or everybody else was doing it. And then at some juncture, they realized that wasn't for them, but somebody made a commission off of them, and they feel like they got screwed because of the scarcity mentality and survival mode when it comes to financial management. So I'm having Michael here today to have some of this discussion around financial products, particularly in the insurance world, and which, whether I always tell people in some of their planning, I'm like, well, would you rather pay the government or would you rather pay an insurance company? And everybody's answer is always neither. I go, well, unfortunately, you actually don't have a choice here. So pick the lesser of two evils. Like, what is your why behind it? Which one gives you something for you and your loved ones? And that's how you choose to go there. Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. So we were starting behind the scenes having a conversation. I'm like, wait, let's do this live because I just want to capture it all have it be authentic. And because to me, scripted conversations tend to not touch people's hearts as much as just raw conversation that's in the moment and captures what the world needs to hear at this moment in time.
Love that.
Yeah, thank you. So you're in Jersey right now. That's what you hear. I have good friends out in Jersey.
So yes, today I'm in New Jersey. Tomorrow I'll be in New York. I go wherever the moon takes me.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about you?
A little bit about me. So I am 38 years in the business of financial planning and insurance, predominantly insurance. I have had a number of different agencies, been an owner and sold. And then, during COVID, it was time to start again.
Mm.
And the reason I found that during COVID really made me want to start again was you saw and heard and read and spoke to people about fear.
Right?
And understandably,
there's a little bit of fear going around at that time.
correct, just a bit. And I try not to live my life in a place of fear.
Mm.
Now, do I fail? Everybody fails. Everybody's got good days and bad days.
Sure.
But for me, I'm very fortunate. I have a loving wife. I have two loving kids. I have a son-in-law. Life is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know that, and I want to remember that every day of the week. Money's important. And I say this to people all the time. Money is very, very important. Money, the phrase money makes the world go round, it doesn't have to. It makes it easier.
Yeah, it gives you choices. Right.
Correct. Right. A permission slip, if you will.
Right.
A permission slip, as I like to say, a permission slip to spend and enjoy.
It's true.
I mean, I would love nothing more for me and my family, or my friends, my family, my clients, die the day you spend your last penny.
If you told me the day that you die, I'll tell you how much you can spend today.
Exactly. But see, to me, if we at Silver Line, if we do our job properly with and for you, and I say it like that, with, because we're not doing it alone. It's with
Right.
and for you. If we do our job properly, you will live the greatest life that you desire,
Mm-hmm.
and then leave all the money you spent. You'll leave the same dollars plus more to your heirs or to
Right.
whomever you wish to leave it to. That's what I love about what I do.
Hmm.
We don't talk about death. Some
No,
people,
you talk about what you want to accomplish, right? It's about it. I find it to be so backwards the way that people approach financial management because they're doing it from a place of where somebody feels like they're holding this bag of rocks that feels super heavy, right? Like, as opposed to like, no, 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 you are the creator of your life. So what do you want to create? And we have not been taught in our society of how to actually financially create your life.
correct.
We've figured out how to financially pigeonhole ourselves into lifestyles and then be caught in the matrix where the government and the banks run your life, but that's a place of not feeling empowered, that it's financial scarcity, not financial abundance or being financially empowered. So what I hear you saying is that it's all about financial empowerment.
Financial empowerment and control. You control your money. Do we need the financial institutions? Of course we do.
Right. No
But
doubt.
we're not
Right.
looking for them to control what or how we do it.
Hmm. Right. We get to choose that. And many
Right.
people don't feel like they have a choice. So why do you feel like most people don't feel that they have a choice from your
And
perspective?
because they're not educated, because they don't know about it. And that
Right.
doesn't make them wrong.
Right.
You and I are in this world. We talk it every day of the week, and we
Hmm.
want to talk to our friends, our family, our clients, etc. about it.
Right.
But our clients and our friends and our family that are physicians, business owners, lawyers, and it's not what they're excellent in their area.
Right.
That's why you and I have an accountant because we're not
Right.
experts in tax work.
I know enough about the tax laws, but guess what? I'm not doing my taxes.
Agreed 100%.
Oh,
It's
it's
that
so
it's
true.
all about education and explanation. I mentioned before, and I use the word with, doing business with people.
Hmm.
I love having conversations about what's important about money to you
Right. Right.
because it's not about what's important to me.
It has nothing
It's
to
what's
do with the
important to
financial
you.
professional.
It's not my job. My job is simply to guide, not
And and
instruct.
and can I say that? So if those of you who are watching, if you have a financial professional that you work with and they do all the talking, this is the problem. Because you as the client should be doing the talking because then the other person's actually listening to what it is that you are trying to accomplish in your own life. And I also want to say, Michael, something that you had said, many people, we can talk about the professionals, people who've been college educated and make six-figure incomes. So that is certainly a part of our world of financial services world that there's a whole part, which is the majority of the people in, at least in the United States, that don't feel that they can go to someone in the financial services world. First of all, there's a lot less of us than the demand that is needed out there. And that's why, like, we're doing things like these podcasts to help educate people. And because this is not a paid event, right? It's about going, oh, our souls are calling us to share more information, to educate more, because then as we raise that level of education and increase the level of light and awareness on financial decision making process, then more people can make decisions that are in alignment with themselves. And I'll tell you that's what's driven me to create a whole online platform and free workshops and then online courses. Because what drove me was to create product lines. And no matter where it is that you're financially starting, that there's somewhere that you can plug into to get that education and that awareness. And so you and I are rare in the financial services world where we're actually doing podcasts. Like, a lot of people don't
Correct.
realize
Yes.
that most financial professionals don't do this. It drives me batty that here all these people are listening to all these financial people, but not one of them are actually a financial professional. And they're all over YouTube and they're all over everywhere. I know, don't get you started, right?
Yeah. See, to me, now you and I in this podcast are not going to solve anyone's economic situation.
Correct. People have to
And
solve their own.
what bothers me is when they call into some of these shows, et cetera, and they get an answer.
Yeah.
There's no backstory. There's
Right.
no, why did you do this? Oh, my uncle this, my aunt that, but there's always a why. And that's
Right.
what we look to get to. You mentioned earlier, you know, deal with people who listen more than, I when I am talking with my team,
Hmm.
and as we grow and we learn, one of my favorite lines is the financial professional needs to listen more. That's why God gave us two ears and one mouth. Listen
My
twice
mom
as
used
much
to
as you
say
speak.
that.
It is true in so many areas.
Yeah,
You know,
it's very
so
true.
for me, I get crazy when I listen to some of these radio shows or whatever, and they're making financial statements black and white. You should do this.
Yeah, that's a red flag to run the other way.
Yes, agreed. For me, it's why do you want to do that? Let's look at all the pros and cons. It doesn't mean you're not going to do it,
Right.
but let's make economic decisions
Hmm.
with knowledge, with
Right.
with information. That's all, and that's really what I look to do whenever I'm speaking to anybody about money.
Right.
It's a
Totally
scary
agree.
topic. It's a scary, scary topic for many people. They
Yep.
don't know where to be. I don't have enough. I don't need you. There's no right number.
No, there's no right or wrong number. And what I do also tell people, I'm like, if we were sitting here 3 to 5 years from now, what would you like to see happen in your life? And it's funny, most people go, what do you mean financially? And I am like, I don't care in any part of your life. Because who am I to dictate even that they have to talk about the money stuff first? And do you know what? Nobody talks about the money. That's
I
not what
agree
they
with
say.
that. I agree, and I use a very similar thing. If we were sitting here today, looking back 3 years,
Yeah.
what would have happened to you personally, professionally, and economically for you to
Yep.
be happy and
Yep.
satisfied? That I love that
Yep.
because we're
Yeah,
looking
because it's a whole new way of approach.
correct. It's not the numbers.
No, it's never about the numbers. It's about what you want to create. So, in terms of insurance, let's look to this is just a topic that most people hate, right? Most people hate the insurance topic, right? It's a necessary evil. That's the way and it's about, and I'm a licensed insurance rep. I've had my license. I was trained by an insurance company early on in my career and totally get it. And it's a piece of the puzzle because to me, there's two parts of your financial world. There's playing offense and then there's playing defense. And most people have, they don't have to. Most people would consider using insurance because they're not at a point where they can self-insure. Or they also don't understand how the vehicle works actually to get them ahead because they have an emotional blockage to the word insurance and they're not actually understanding the vehicle itself. Because oftentimes I'll describe the actual financial product and I'm like, okay, is this what you want to create? And they're like, that's absolutely what I want to create. And I go, okay, well, that's an annuity. And then they go, which is a form of insurance, right? It's an investment product that has insurance pieces in it. And they go, I don't like annuities. I'm like, I understand you don't like annuities, but you said you want to accomplish X, Y, and Z, and that product actually does that. This product over here that you think you want doesn't actually accomplish that. And I don't care which one you do, but understand. So this is why my first book, The Emotion Behind Money, people have a lot of limiting beliefs or these structures of how they see things in the marketplace because of the stories that they've been told from
Agreed.
others, right? So what are your thoughts?
Life. I look at life insurance, and you said this before. It is part of the puzzle. It is not the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
There are many, many pieces in someone's financial world. Is life insurance a major player in their world? It should be. It will be. Yes. Why? Because of, as you said, all the things it does to help someone while living and while earning and while saving and while growing. And then what it does at the end, early on in one's career in the life insurance industry, they're taught, what does life insurance do? It creates an estate and then it protects an estate. and so many different things in between.
Mm-hmm.
Years, years. And yes, it's money. It is an investment vehicle. Now, I also look at it and say, hey, there are other investment vehicles. Of course, there are. See,
Right.
there's no perfect investment vehicle. If there was, we'd all own it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So when I look at someone's their financial plan, which by the
Mm-hmm.
way could be on the back of a cocktail napkin, you know, they may never have done it, but it could be between their ears.
Sure.
It's what have you done and why have you done it?
Right.
They may like real estate. They may like investing in stocks and bonds. Great. There's no reason you can't do those things.
Mm-hmm.
But my job in the planning is to make sure that should something go awry, you have a fallback. You have the protection, the safety net that you can do it again.
Right. And I'm going to say that, like when I coach my clients, that I say, if you desire to have a safety net, right? My job is to plan out that you have a big gaping hole. That's what my job is just go, okay, here's your risk, here's your gap. What do you want to do about it? So for, I know we're talking about life insurance, but like when I show long-term care insurance to a client, I go, here are your options to solve long-term care. You can buy a straight long-term care policy. You can buy a policy that is a life insurance policy with a long-term care rider on it. You can self-fund it and build your own money for a bucket that's not in your retirement plan. And you do have a fourth option there that's called kick the can. Ignore it, stick your head in the sand, and act like an ostrich. I literally put those on clients' agendas, all four of those options, because then make it a conscious choice that you want to stick your head in the sand. Like, but my job is to say, hey, here's a hole. How do you want to solve for it? But then they're making a conscious choice what to do about it, right?
Absolutely. That's part of conversations. You
Mm-hmm.
know, neither you nor I are making the decision for someone. We
Right.
we're educating. We're bringing them, as you said, the four choices.
Right.
And then you
Right.
are right. Those are absolutely perfect, clean, legit choices.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to educate you on the pros and cons of each line item.
Right.
Then, Mr. and Mrs. Client, it's your call. We're going to have a conversation. You're going to make a decision. You're going to ask me my opinion. But I'm not going to give you my opinion until you tell me where your mindset is. Now, I will
The
already know because we've
mindset's
had
so
that
important.
conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
Because I listened twice as much as I spoke.
Exactly. Exactly. And I want people to know, I know you said earlier that people should have insurance in there. I am a big proponent that there are no shoulds. And
Okay.
and the only reason I say that is because of the fact that um I don't think people come from a place of empowerment if they feel like they should do something. Like that, because here's what, so part of what I teach with the emotion behind money is that 97% of our response to the external world around us comes from our subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind actually is fully developed by the time we're 7 years old. And so when people are in their patterning from the financial patterns that their parents actually and their communities that they grew up in caused the hard wiring that's actually in your brain, they could go into their patterning and just try to people please and be that good girl, good boy, like give you a pat on the head because you did what you should do. Right. And so I'm very careful because I've learned in my business that sometimes, and this was early on in my business, that if somebody is really not understanding their why they bought something, we as professionals then have a bigger problem down the road because then they're canceling it, they're calling up every time they have to pay the premium. And no, you want people to be solid in their decision-making process,
If they're
right?
questioning it, we didn't do our job properly.
Exactly. So I want
Yeah.
everyone out there to hear this loud and clear. If you are questioning anything that you have in your financial portfolio, it's because maybe the can wasn't kicked hard enough when you were in the decision-making process of purchasing those products. So go kick the can more. You know, I think that Michael well said, because that is where the problem lies. That's where all compliance issues lie in our
Yes.
business.
Yes. Yes. Now you talk about no shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
I have no needs. No one knows what they need. I want to
Right?
talk about, what do you want? If we
Mm-hmm.
shoot for the moon and we get there, that's amazing. If we shoot for the moon and come close, terrific. But if we don't shoot for the moon, we're not getting anywhere.
Right. So do you have a process that you walk people through in terms of how you facilitate them through them understanding and pulling out of them what their wants are from a insurance desire?
From an economic desire, yes, absolutely. You know, my first question I always ask is, what is it economically that keeps you up at night?
Mm.
And then we have the jokes on, well, my kids, or my spouse snoring. I
I
get that
just
a lot.
started getting
Right?
teenagers. I
I
think I
say,
understand
okay,
that.
let's back up and let me reframe the question.
Sure, right?
And that's when we get into the questions of, what's important about money to you.
Mm.
Having it, great.
Right.
What's important about having it? And we just keep going and going, because there's no deep enough to get to, and everybody
Right.
has a different why.
Right. I was early on in my career, and I want everyone to understand this, that it's your approach to this is the important piece, right? That's one of the reasons compliance has always been okay with the work that I do on things like podcasts, because this is just about your strategy and how you approach your financial stuff, right? It's different, it's out of the box, and it's just about you actually choosing for yourself. And there was this system. God, I wish I could remember what it was, but I can totally see the pamphlets from the insurance company, but it was a funnel system. I think the guy's name was Ted. But anyway, and it was about like what goes into your funnel to spit out the answer as to what you actually want as an outcome.
Sounds like
And
needs
so,
analysis.
yes, yes. And so when I work clients through from a life insurance standpoint, is that there's different things that ask yourself the questions on. Like, there's 7 different categories. Do you have an emergency fund? Yes or no? If not, how much would the surviving spouse need? Right? How about an immediate cash fund? Right? That one I always thought was a little esoteric, because like, if an emergency fund and immediate cash fund, they might be a little bit one and the same. Funeral costs, what are those? Right? Whether you want cremation or you want to be buried, what's that number? And again, that's not our number.
Correct.
That's the client's number,
Absolutely
right?
correct. Yes.
If you still have young kids, what about childcare costs, right? If you are no longer here and you're the person providing childcare, what is that cost going to be as those kids grow depending on their ages? So you back into what that need is, right? College costs. Do you want funds there for their college, right? And how about retirement? Looking at retirement and or paying off any debts, right? Do you have a mortgage or other debts? And when you add up these needs, right, you list them out and you say, oh, income replacement's the other big one, right? How many years, do you need income if one of those people in your household is no longer producing it?
And at what
Right?
level? And at what level?
Correct. Is it include the bonuses or not include the bonuses? Is it just the salary? What is it? And up until the kids are what age, or what age you are, right? So one of the things that you add all those numbers up, and every time I add those numbers up for people, it comes up with a number and they go, I don't want that much insurance, right? I go, okay, well, that's the need. Now let's subtract out where you're self-insured, assets you already have.
Right.
Right? Subtract out, you're already self-insured. Let's say you've already built $500,000. Okay. You don't need $500,000. You already have $500,000. Okay. Or whatever. Maybe it's zero. Maybe you haven't built any wealth and it's zero. Okay. Well, then your number is still your number. And then I ask them going, okay, now this is where your desire and your wants come into play. Now go back and say, okay, here's the left brain logical financial professional needs analysis. Now you chop the block. If you're
Right.
not here and I'm sitting here with your spouse, you tell me what you want this money to pay for, because that's what we'll put in place. And then people then decide in each of those categories where they maybe don't want so much, and that's where you marry the needs analysis with your wants and desires. And Michael, I'm sure you've got stuff to add to that. So what thoughts?
Well, one thing that I also talk about is, as we're talking about years, planned obsolescence.
Mm,
You know, and I always joke, had my dad passed away in the mid 70s, leaving my mother in the lifestyle that she had grown accustomed to. So we're now in 2024. My mother is 88 years old. My father is 88 years old.
mm,
They're living their best lives, which is
mhm.
wonderful.
Yep.
Imagine a 1974 Buick.
I know exactly where you're going. I get it.
So it's not about that. It's not about a 1974 dishwasher
No.
because these things need to be replaced. It is part of what we do every day. We talk about, as you mentioned, how much money, how much earning do we have to include the bonus? We're living on all of these things. Now, living doesn't
Mhm.
mean spending. We're
Right.
living on it. Savings is part of
Right.
living. And if
Right.
we're putting money into retirement plans and maybe even some savings accounts and some investment, that's part of it. We still need to replace that because that can't stop.
Right. Right.
It always worries me when I hear, I don't want to fund my spouse's next spouse's life. You've heard it.
I've definitely heard it.
Yeah, you know, my answer there is don't you're not funding the new spouse. You're funding your existing family.
hmm It's the same
And
thing in a divorce, right? I say in a divorce,
absolutely.
they always say like, I don't want to give that amount of money. And I go, can you take this from consider a different perspective here? The perspective is going, what kind of house do you want your child to live in half the time when they're on the other side? I understand you don't want your ex-wife living off the high off the hog, but and they're like, always, the guy says, Julie, you had to go there, didn't you? And I go, yeah, because I'm the one that pays alimony. And I had to ask myself that same question, going, do I really want my kids to feel abundant in my house and then starving in the other house? Not really. Not really.
No,
It's but I also I know I had to do a little therapy with myself on that one. But what I'm saying is that it's perspective, right? It's
absolutely.
like
Yes.
going you have to it's your head is saying I'm not providing for her next life with another man. Drop into your heart. It's not a head
Correct.
decision, it's a heart decision. And get in your heart and going, well, what do you want for your current family?
And you know, for me personally, in my own planning, I've always said this. And my children have heard me say this. Now, my children are grown now. I want to leave my children and my grandchildren filthy, filthy rich.
And that's
Now,
your desire.
that's my desire. Now I add to that though. It's my job and my obligation to teach them financial responsibility
With that
and
money.
for being a human being.
Yeah.
You know, you can be rich and be a jerk.
Oh, there's plenty.
Yes, there are, and we work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I enjoy more working with a family that if you saw them walking down the street, you'd never know they were gazillionaires.
Yeah. The millionaire
That's
next door.
the sheer joy of what we do allows people to live their best life. I tell one story many, many years ago. A friend of mine had one child, son, and my friend did a lot of business travel. He was a consultant, doing a lot of so his son and mom, his wife,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
were very, very close. And yes, we did planning with them, and there was a lot of life insurance involved, etc. Mom passed away 3 days before her 50th birthday.
Mm.
Cancer. It was terrible, but and I remember like it was yesterday, walking into the house, knowing full well that I had an envelope in my pocket because in those days we were allowed to deliver death.
Right. I remember.
There was no wire, there was no ACH, you know.
Right.
And I handed the man a significant check with multiple commas.
Mm,
Do you know what it allowed him to do? It allowed him to take 3 years off of work to spend with his teenage son,
mm,
who had some learning disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. You know, fast forward. I was fortunate enough to be invited to that boy's wedding.
mm.
You know, I have watched this young man grow and start his own life. Yeah, yeah, just hot. Coincidentally, yesterday was the boy's birthday, so I spoke to him. You know, this is what we do for a living.
Right.
We, I try to work in the world of living
Hmm.
with a smile on my face and love in my heart. It
Right.
sounds cheesy and all that kind of stuff.
That's what it's about.
It is exactly what it's about.
Right.
Death happens. Death happens
It's the only way out for all of us.
early and late.
Mm,
You know, I was taught early on in my career, what does my insurance end of my planning do? It helps someone when they live too long, die too soon, or get sick or disabled in between. That's
it's
it.
true.
That's the death benefit portion.
Hmm.
That's not the insurance portion in my mind. See,
Right.
I like the phrase life assurance.
Mm,
Doesn't matter. No, it's all semantics.
right.
It's how
It's perspective.
it's perspective. It's how it's explained, but more importantly, the way I look at it, it's how it's received.
Mm,
You know, there are people that just want just the facts, man. Just the facts. I just want numbers. That's not how I do my business
right.
because nothing is just.
It's not all just your left brain. You have to take your right emotional brain along with your left logical brain, and you are that.
And the way I look at things is not the same way everybody else does, which is
Right.
why, once again, I love what I do for a living because I'm talking to so many different people
Right.
with different mindsets.
Hmm.
So it's not about my mindset.
Right.
I sell so many different insurance products and planning programs in it. I'm always asked the same, where do you start? Where do you start your? And
The
the,
very beginning.
there's a book like that. There's a song like that. There's a book like that.
Right.
But
Oh.
but for me, my answer is we always start where the person wants to begin
Mm.
with one requirement. Oh, okay, Julie, you want to start on this topic. I'm happy to go there with you. With your permission, we'll start there, but we also must go to the other parts
Right.
because nothing can be done in a vacuum.
That's so true because I have people come to me all the time like, well, I just want you to manage my money and that's it. I don't want to talk about anything else. I'm like going, I can't do that.
No.
I can't do that because think of it as like a functional medicine doctor, right? Like you can go to your heart specialist, but they're not understanding fully how that affects all the other parts of the system because of their specialty, right? Like you have to be talking about all the other parts to be able to make an assessment because all the other parts affect each other. And the same is true for your financial
And I
alignment.
love your analogy with the doctor. What I'll say to someone is if I come to you and you ask me only to do this, you're putting blinders on me.
Right.
So if I'm having a conversation with you about savings, great, let's save, 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 save. Forget the vehicle. Save, save, save. But I don't know that when I take off the blinders, you have $100,000 of credit card debt out here. I don't
Great.
know. I can't do my job
That's so
properly for
true.
you
So
if I
true.
don't know everything holistically that's going on in your economic world, personal world, mental world, and it's a place we don't want to go. But very simply, we need to know everything. That's why, the quarterback of the team, the point person of this. Sure. It depends who that person is. Is it the accountant? Is it the attorney? Is it the advisor? It depends.
Well, it's about from a financial standpoint, like for so long, it's been like a competition between the accountant and the attorney and the financial planner. And for whatever reason, most people believe they're accountant over everyone. And but it's not about that competition between. It's about collaborating with all of the professionals to get accomplished what it is that you want to accomplish because
Absolutely.
everyone's coming from a different vantage point. And it's about kicking the tires from each of those vantage points. And when you do that effectively, you actually get to a better place of what your desires are because you're not just listening to one genre, you're listening to all three and they're kicking the tires in different directions. And then you're coming up with what you're running it through your own funnel, your own truth, and then you come up with, oh, okay, this is what resonates the most. And
And
then
when
you
you
start
have
to take steps forward.
and when you have a planner, an accountant, and an attorney, and there'll be others, there'll be bankers and real estate, when they are working in conjunction with each other,
It's a whole different ballgame.
it is amazing how the economic world opens up to you to opportunities.
Yep.
Uh, it's truly the way to do things. You can't do anything in a vacuum or in a silo. Use any analogy you like.
Right. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I want everyone to take from our conversation today is the fact that if you're working with a financial professional where it is a silo and it's not encompassing this holistic viewpoint, you're missing something. I
Absolutely.
guarantee you're missing something. And so kick the tires, go out there and be like, okay. And I'm not saying necessarily come to me or Michael. I'm just saying, like, find what resonates with you that is kicking all the tires because that's the most important piece.
You have to be careful. You need to make sure that you're comfortable with the person you're working with.
Oh, absolutely.
I joke, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I don't understand it, but I get it. And my wife will be the first one to explain it to me. Okay. But that's relationships
Yeah,
are
it really is.
imperative because you need to feel comfortable speaking to that person. I always say, you're going to get financially naked in front of me.
That's true.
So I always have a conversation. Now, I enjoy working with friends and family. I do
Mm,
because I can't think of anyone I want to help more than
right,
friends and family. Now,
right.
I'm fortunate that after 38 years, nearly 40 years, many of my clients have become friends. Some have even become family.
That's true. Agreed.
But that's what I look at when I have conversations with people. You know, my number one job is to be truthful to you. If you're truthful to me, this is gonna be great. If you
Hmm.
hold back, I don't have all the pieces to put together the puzzle.
Well, that's one of the reasons I actually gave up wearing a suit. And I noticed you don't have a tie on,
I
right?
know.
Like you're
Yes.
not you're not structured and put together and because I find that when you are fully in that you and I both got in the industry when you were supposed to have the blue suit and the tie and my skirt needed to be to my knees, right? Like that's how it was. It's like you had to wear the uniform, right?
Correct.
But I find that people don't open up when we're dressed that professionally because you want to talk to that heart, not the head, right? And it's funny, I literally bought a loft space in the West Loop of Chicago with exposed brick to where it does not look like the mahogany desk financial firm intentionally, so that people would feel more comfortable, like it was a home, so that their
Correct.
heart would open up, so that they would start to talk about the warm and fuzzies of what affects them in their world.
Well, I must have, I laugh because you use the button up tie kind of story. In the day, I was the tie guy.
Yeah,
That was it.
absolutely.
You
Right.
know,
We
by
all
the way,
were.
and since COVID, socks are the new tie for guys.
That's
Okay.
true.
But so I was the guy who came in the dark blue suit, the white shirt, the tie. No,
Right.
I was referred to and I remember this like it was yesterday. I mean, we're talking about the mid 90s now. I was referred to a landscape architect
Mm.
This guy did some beautiful work, but he's down and dirty. He came to my office, started having some conversations, and the next meeting, he said, "You know what? Why don't you come out to my shop? You'll see it. You get a great." Now he said, "But no tie." He said to me, "He goes,
No time.
we don't do tie in the landscape."
That's
He says,
awesome.
"And if you could leave the jacket home, that would be great too." I couldn't. It was not who I was and what I was doing.
Right.
But I decided to play along. So I am full blue suited. I am white shirt again. I had the power tie, the briefcase, the shoes were shined to the 11s.
Right.
I walk in, he comes in, he goes, and there's a direct quote, "Dude, I told you." I said, okay, stop. And all I did, I stood up, I dropped my pants, and I had a bathing suit on.
That's awesome.
I, and we laughed just like that. We had a great time. We did business. We talked about this. We talked about that. But we were two guys yucking it
Just
up,
yeah, right.
just being people,
Human.
not being machines about money.
Yeah, right. There is such a feeling about money that people almost push it away from them,
It's fear.
right?
It's fear.
For sure. But I also believe that there's a part of it it's people's deserving button. Like they feel like I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I didn't grow up with money, I don't have money. And then if you didn't grow up with money and then you created all this money, then you don't identify with where you came from anymore.
Some.
And it's interesting again, and I think that's a whole other different show about people unpacking that way of growing up in the world financially. But at the end of the day, it is about connecting human hearts. And it's about you connected with his heart when you dropped your drawers and you had your bathing suit on, right?
Right.
Because what you did is it went from here to a battle of the egos, like told you not to wear your tie, right? To oh no, we're two dudes and we're just yucking it up, right?
We're gonna have some fun doing what we do.
Exactly.
You talk about not having money, then having money in the relationship. That's why I love the question.
Mm-hmm.
What's important about money to you?
To you. Exactly.
And
And
then
Michael, if I can say, that's the line I want everyone to just hear. And I actually think that is a great note to stop because I want people to remember that. And that's your launch pad for the next place. So, Michael, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. And I hope that whatever you and I do in our careers, we're helping people. Because that's what it's about. That's why you and I do what we do.
Yep. My great uncle was in the life insurance business and he said, "Julie, I always thought you were going to be an accountant or a lawyer. I never thought you'd go into the financial world." He goes, "But you know what? You're going to be at more funerals and more weddings than you know what to do with because you're going to be a part of people's families."
Yeah.
And you know what? He was right. 30 years later. Well, Michael, thank you. And everyone, please subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell if you're seeing this on YouTube. And Michael will put your information below so if people have questions. And by all means, as I say, we work things out, we act it out through our money, our health, or our relationships. And come join me at juliemurphy.com. We are starting up we have a discovery and a workshop and then a 6-week course. We run this every 8 weeks to help everyone get to them where they want to be. Thanks, everybody. Until next time. Bye for now.